Hello, guys. We are live for Team GB Carnivore session number 13, joined with all the usual panel guests, including Phil. And what we do have today is a special guest tonight, and that is Olivia. We actually had the pleasure of meeting her last year twice. So once in Sheffield at the Public Health Collaboration UK event, and once beforehand for, I think I had a Diet Coke and you probably had water or something. But yeah, we've met a couple of times now. But what I'm going to do is just let Olivia introduce herself, say who she is, talk about any upcoming events. She'll be joining on the panel tonight to answer the questions you guys have. Meanwhile, get your questions in early. We find we can get up to about 10, maybe 5-10 questions in for the most part. If you don't get them in now, they probably won't be answered, so I'd probably get them in right now. I'm going to leave the floor to Olivia to just talk about her self-experiences on the carnivore diet and elaborate a little bit about the Sheffield conference and what the plans are moving forward in May.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me on, everyone. It's nice to see this little man cave of carnivores that happens together. So thanks for letting me join you. But yeah, I'm Olivia Krueger, and I am a trustee at an organisation called the Public Health Collaboration. Some of you may have heard of that charity in the UK. If you've heard of Dr. David Unwin, then you will be familiar with us because we're the charity behind him. And we have been around for about 7-8 years or so now. This is going to be our 8th conference coming up. And we are a charity, a total not-for-profit, that are all about helping people understand the importance of their own metabolic health and the power of eating real food and living a lifestyle which will allow them to be, the best that they can be. Our vision is that everyone enjoys good metabolic health. And so we are very much kind of trying to push forward with that. We were actually set up by many doctors that came out of the NHS and who understood these important factors very kind of early, ahead of the curve, if you like, compared to most of their peers. And they have been pushing this charity forward. We've been generally getting support from a lot of people from within the NHS and others that are learning from the likes of Dr. David Unwin and others like him, and Jen Unwin, his wife. But many of the public are now starting to obviously understand more about metabolic health, as we all have seen, and are following us as well. So we are here to help everyone understand that from a grassroots level, whether it's a healthcare professional or a member of the public. And what we do and how we do that is we have some very key projects that we are putting in place, because we don't want to just be about information. We want to actually make the change happen that we want to see happen in our society. So one of our key projects, for example, is actually coaching referrals off the NHS that the NHS give us for people who are pre-diabetic and helping them become not diabetic and reversing any diabetes that they did have. So that's one of our major programs called the Lifestyle Club. And that's probably the most advanced program that we have. It's in about 52 surgeries across the UK. And we're doing a study to actually get those results validated, that we're seeing some really positive results, and get that validated by an external academic institution and use that to roll it out more. So we also have a food addiction service, which is doing something very similar, but coming at it more from a psychological angle to really unpick and address the real root cause of food addiction. And we have a program that we are just kicking off to help educate secondary school children about the dangers of ultra-processed food, and that's called the Real Food Rebellion Project. So we're doing a lot, and our approach very much is to get on and actually make the change happen, and whilst we're doing that, prove the results and help and use those results to actually push for the change that needs to happen across the board. So being a not-for-profit and being a charity, we don't accept any funding from any industries. And so we rely totally on the goodwill of others. So the main way that we can be supported, there's lots of different ways, but the main way is to come along to our annual conference. And Jonathan mentioned we had one last year in Sheffield, which we all remember, I think, quite fondly. I think we were all there, right? And this year we're going to have one coming up in May, again in London this time. And we've got a great lineup, which we've just announced last week. And we've got some great speakers coming over from different parts of the world, all talking about different topics that probably will be of interest to this audience. and we're really looking forward to inviting them all along. So that's just a kind of a bit of a nutshell of everything to do with PHC and our event that's coming up. So as far as myself, my background is not in the health or medical field at all. I've come from a business background for 20 years, and I helped drive lots of different programs that were about spreading a message to consumers and to the public. So a lot of this is using my old skills, which I decided to put into this space because I went on my own health journey and I lost a lot of weight. I didn't have any specific issues that I was trying to address, but I was just very astounded to find out that so much of the information on health is wrong. And I thought I'd much rather use my skills in this area to spread the right message than to kind of help someone's bottom line anymore. So that's where that's why I'm involved with the public health collaboration, and I think it's a great vehicle for doing that, certainly in the UK. So that's me.
Brilliant. Thanks very much for sharing that. I appreciate the honesty and transparency about what you're trying to achieve with this charity. And a lot of people don't think about that. A lot of people in this space don't think about what they can give back sometimes. I don't just mean this space. I mean any space online, regardless of whether it be fitness, health, nutrition, what have you. Now, out of interest, is anyone on the panel right now actually going to this event in May? So I'm thinking about it. I'm just going to look at transport and things like that. But it might be useful if you guys are on there. Perhaps you could highlight what day you're going, and also what you intend to talk about there, or sorry, what you intend to do once you're there, or who you're looking forward to meeting.
I can give you one of who's on there as well, if that helps, in a minute.
Well, I'm going Saturday and Sunday. I can't do Monday. Sorry. I've just put in the chat who's going. All right. So, I mean, Ken Berry, I don't know if anyone's heard of him. He's quite small. He's quite a small fish in the community. So obviously I'm looking forward to hopefully meeting him, but at least listening to him, seeing what he's like in real life. Dave Feldman, Rachel Brown, Chafee, of course. I'm just Gary Torbs, actually. So that's the person I'm most looking forward to trying to talk to, actually, because I think his book, his books have been very instrumental in how I think. So I just think it's a nice broad spread of people. Sorry that the names have all got mashed up in the chat, but yeah, I just think it's nice, nice sort of variation. There's a few people there that I've not really heard much about. So that's the other thing. Today somebody was on Facebook saying, what's your favorite channels and podcasts? And I was really interested in the ones I didn't know. It's all well and good saying, yeah, I've seen that. That's brilliant. What's the top one at the moment is like the raw meat experiment, which is a fantastic idea, quite tongue in cheek, where the guy said, I'm going to eat raw meat until I die from bacteria. And, he obviously hasn't. And then it annoyed so many people, he then did the raw chicken experiment. So I think that was quite eye-opening. I didn't know about that until last week. And that's been going on right under my nose for a long time. So I think getting all these people together in one room over 3 days, you're going to hear some new opinions, some different sort of aspects of this way of eating. I know a lot of it's keto. I know I'm carnivore, but carnivore is a subset of ketogenic. So yeah, I'm just looking forward to the variation, learning some new things. It's always nice to hear the stuff you've heard before, but I think there'll be lots of new research and new information to glean from it. So I think it'd be good.
Yeah, definitely. And on the point about new information, you guys were all there last year. You saw that we did a debate, and that was the first time we'd ever put something like that out there. And normally it tends to be a lot of people in this low carb space all talking about, what we all understand to be the case and generally agreeing. And we wanted to actually start to bring together some of the different opposing views that we, if we understand about low carb, would we then face when you try and put it up against the mainstream. We wanted to try and bring that into the fore. And so that actually we think worked very well last year. And it didn't, go downhill into, you know, a puddle of chaos. It actually did provide, you know, for people who don't know anything about any of this, probably some useful opinions to contrast with each other. So we're trying to do that again this year, and we've got Dave Feldman talking about the lipid hypothesis and how there are contexts where it doesn't, at the very least, suggest that it's causal towards cardiovascular disease. And we're trying to bring someone in who has more of a mainstream view to see how those two things come together, so people can start to inform themselves more fully in one place with all those opinions contrasted. And we're doing the same thing for the longevity panel, which is about, you know, does meat help or not help longevity, of which there are very differing views depending on where you go and do your research. So yeah, I thought I'd just highlight that, because a lot of the names, and it's interesting that you say, you know, they're a variation. We've chosen them specifically so that they will bring those specific views forward that I mentioned on those topics.
Olivia,
yeah, that's nice.
Did you see that study that they were trying to find out which foods increased telomere length, and the only one that did was red meat?
No, I didn't see that. Is that Dave Sinclair or someone like that?
I can't remember, but I mean, that's like the gold standard sort of marker of longevity, right?
Mm.
So that was interesting, with all the vegans saying that the vegans live longer when there's no studies at all on vegans. Yeah.
No, I'll have to look that one up. Thanks, Phil. Was that
Nice
recent?
one. That is interesting. It's quite recent. Within the last year or two, it's been put in publication in different articles. I'd imagine that the citation will be quite tricky to sort of find, because a lot of these times they sort of put it in a link in a word somewhere. I'll click here to find the study. You're not reading 2,000 pages to get to the link. But I don't know. I might try and look for it in a second when you guys are chatting about anything or answering questions. But yeah, just so you guys do know, if you do have any questions for us on the panel, including Olivia, please put a Q before the question so we can easily spot it and answer it from there. We do actually have one question currently from Fractal Beans, which is a question for Olivia, which is nice. So, is anyone else in the UK who might have information about any doctor or centre that uses a ketogenic diet similar to PKD, such as Sophia Clemens?
Well, we don't have doctor in front of our names, but yes, us. So Sophia's a great friend of mine. I love Sophia, and you know, having sorted out autoimmunity myself with PKD, or something pretty close anyway, yeah, we do it. And if you want to chat to us, then that's fine. The only time I tend to refer people to Sophia directly is when they're, you know, very late stage cancer, or they're on a whole load of medications, and then I'd like to see some actual doc who understands about the medications, but isn't so brainwashed anymore that they think that they're necessary, and how to wean off them and whatever. So yeah, chat to us. We can do the PKD stuff. A load of experience in that, and there we go. It works 100%.
I'll just add to that you know, that's obviously within the NHS, there are some doctors and GPs in primary care that are more versed in low carb, or certainly look to use that for helping people with type 2 diabetes. We have a map on our website on phcuk.org, which allows you to see if there's any that are local to you. Obviously, it's a little bit of a lottery there, because you may not have one in your area, but maybe sometimes people can actually move to different GP services to get the right doctors. So it's worth having a look at that. But yeah, that's NHS.
No, Olivia's spot on there for stuff about diabetes. You know, it's the really specific stuff. If you're looking to reverse autoimmunity or whatever on the PKD thing, it's a little more subtle. And there are certain tweaks that can make so much difference. With diabetes, absolutely, you know, low carb or carnivore or whatever, that's going to nail it. But a few more tweaks for autoimmunity. I speak from experience. So does my left knee and my right wrist. Don't be as silly as me. Go for the PK.
Nice one. So if anyone you didn't see that just now, I believe Steve was kind enough to put on the screen just the study that we talked about a minute ago. So it was actually 7 years old. So they tested a load of different food groups, and apparently beef was the only one that had the apparent telomere lengthening effect, which is quite cool.
Yeah, and another load of lifestyle factors as well. They looked at age, gender, location, all kinds of things as well. And the only thing out of anything that had any difference was red meat.
That's so interesting. That just literally goes against everything you hear.
There is one prior to this as well. I've referenced it a few times, but I've just tried to see if I could find it there, but I can't find it in my notes. But there was one prior to 2016 as well. So it's interesting this correlated the same answer, in effect. But yeah, red meat is the only thing that increases telomere length that we know of.
That's weird. I've got to just pick this out. Sorry to jump ahead, but there's my friend and hero, Andrew Scarborough's put a comment up here. We need doctors who can appreciate that for gut health, you don't need to eat 30 plus plants a day. This recommendation causes a lot of problems. I've got to agree with that. I've been having a long battle on YouTube with a doctor called, what's his name? Peter Rogers. Seriously, everybody go to this dude. He wound me up there, but disassembled him over the past few videos. But he wound me up badly today by messaging me and saying that fiber is what cures leaky gut and autoimmune. And he drove me mad. Go and troll him. Sorry. So I'm never confrontational, but this guy is sharing such horrendous misinformation. Go get him, guys. Peter Rogers, go get him. Go and put up a load of stuff.
I've got nothing really controversial to say, but I will say when he's asked about where he got his source of information and what his top tier hierarchy of information was, he's talking about the Bible, a book. Or a book of apparent stories or happenings that happened at some point in time.
And the China study, which is about on a level of equivalent.
That's a book as well. That's a book. Yeah.
Yeah, it's another book.
Yeah, we should all write a book about something and say it's like the pinnacle of all evidence.
Right, I think Bart did a pretty good job with Peter Rogers.
Yeah, it's so entertaining, but I think this guy has no clue. He's got that what they call it Dunning-Krueger effect, where he just doesn't know his own stupidity. I sort of listen to it and I'm like, I can't grasp what he's trying to get across.
I told him today that he was a graduate of the Dunning-Krueger University, but I think I've been blocked, and I put comments up now, they just disappear, so I have to copy and paste them and keep banging them up there. But really, I think this is so serious when people share this kind of stuff, because when he was banging on about veganism and Bart was disassembling him, it was just funny, it's amusing. But now when it boils, look, I have a rant tonight. It boils my piss when he starts saying that fiber helps autoimmunity. The years I wasted on that crap. The bloke needs to be stopped. Right, I'll pack it in now, but go get him. Go put some comments up there. Wake him up.
It's going to take a lot of comments, and it might just stir up the algorithm so he actually gets more views and more vegans cotton on to what he's saying and thinking it's great. Anyway, should we get to the questions, because they're popping up quite quickly now. I'm struggling to actually see them. There's one. So, does anyone know about mouth taping? But I will say I'd like Stephen to answer it if possible, just because I watched a podcast with him, I believe, last night with Michael Mason, talking about mouth taping and his experiences. Apparently, there's a good amount of anecdote to it. Personally, I haven't tried it yet, so I couldn't comment on it at all. But, maybe Stephen's got some insight.
Yeah, well, I tried it and it's brilliant. Actually, Jane, well, there's a lot of anecdotes and there's a lot of people I coach try it. And, when you keep hearing the same thing, it's beneficial. I'm very open-minded. If you go online and you look at what the benefits for mouth taping are, if you search on Google, you won't get anything. Google is completely so last decade because it just is pumped full of advertisers' recommendations. It's not going to talk about mouth taping. So you have to go to anecdotes because that's what's happening at the cutting edge of doing this sort of stuff. So Jane, my wife, tried it, and the benefits, differences were incredible, absolutely incredible. Breathing's much better. I mean, she's pretty fit. She's 55. She does pole fit, and she's a Pilates instructor. Eats mostly carnivore. You know, great abs and all that sort of stuff. You know, and this is one of the things. The reason I'm saying that is because a lot of people sort of settle for where they are. They think, well, I'm great, I'm thriving, I'm doing really well. Why should I try this? Well, she tried it, and her energy levels went up, and she sleeps better. So I thought, well, this is great. I'm going to try it. Yes, it is quite funny when you're just about to go to sleep. You're both like, and you know, if you're thirsty, it really ruins everything. If you just want a sip of water or something. But for me, quite an interesting thing for me with my hearing. So years and years of going to the ear, nose and throat people to try and make my hearing better. Everyone knows I wear hearing aids, I think, and I lip read, and my hearing is severely damaged. Well, the ear, nose and throat people thought they could do some surgery. That didn't work. And I've had lots of treatments, and basically in the end, they gave up and said, you can't improve your hearing. And when I went carnivore, my audiologist couldn't believe the hearing test and said, "What?" He didn't know what I was doing, but at the annual checkup, he said, "Well, this can't be right." And but it's the same machine, same venue, same person testing me. It seems like you've got slightly better hearing. So don't think I suddenly could hear. My hearing aids, you know, still need them and all that, but I noticed on my app, which has a volume control for my hearing aids, that I was starting to take the volume down a little bit. Well, what now has happened since I've done the mouth taping, and this is me, personal experience. I'm not going to say this happened to everybody, but I've noticed in a couple of cafes where we go to, where normally I don't hear the background noise as bad, I can hear more range as well. I'm definitely improving my sleep as well. So I think the mouth taping is brilliant. I did speak to Michael Mason last night. Well, it was, you know, a couple of weeks ago, but the video went out last night. And the more people you talk to who have tried it, I've yet to find anyone that's tried it and hasn't had a benefit. So I think it's something worth doing just to see if it can confer a benefit. Hey, Richard. And it is brilliant. It is brilliant. I really do recommend it. I'm not going to give you any science about it. I'm just going to tell you, for me and for Jane, for people I talk to, it seems to really improve sleep, improve breathing. And what more could you want, really?
Yeah, nice one. Has anyone else tried this one out of interest?
I haven't tried it, but I've been thinking about trying it. But I am under maybe the illusion that I don't ever open my mouth when I sleep. I've never found myself to be like waking up with the mouth open. So I don't know whether I need it or not, if that makes sense. But then how would I know if I'm asleep? I know.
Yeah,
well,
but I'm the same.
I think if your nose is blocked, you can sometimes wake up and you have a sort of dry mouth, and you can tell whether you've been breathing through your mouth. But it's rare for me. But what I do, instead of taping it, is I wedge a pillow under my chin, and it just shuts my jaw. You know, I don't do it on my side because I never open my mouth. But if I sort of lie on my back, I'll get a pillow and just sort of wedge it under my chin, and it seems to work the same. But I'd never really thought about that, comparing it to mouth taping, but that's what I invented myself. It seems to work.
But just to answer Olivia, I didn't think that I did that. So I wasn't sure I was going to get any benefit, but I tried it and I did. Whereas I think Jane was always waking up with a dry mouth, like Phil just mentioned. So that sort of indicated that she was opening her mouth while she was sleeping. And I said what you just said. I thought, well, I don't know if it would give me a benefit because I never wake up with a dry mouth. But it definitely has improved things, definitely.
Nice one. Yeah, interesting anecdotes for sure. I'll probably look at trying it at some point. Just need to get enough tape. We got a question that's quite important here, which is about lung cancer. So put it on the screen now, and it's from Fractal Beans. And the patient is a stage 4 lung cancer with recent leptomeningeal metastases. Prognosis 2 to 3 months. We're in Epsom, Surrey, Royal Marsden. I saw a bit after that, but I need to find the question. Okay. Problem is convincing her to even try. And I'm thinking that he's talking about like PKD carnivore, and I think it's for his girlfriend, I think. Something like that.
Well, if I could jump in, I'm
Yeah.
really, really sorry to hear that, and my sympathies go out to you. But it's a difficult question to ask on here, and I'm going to have to sort of couch it in code. But was there anything sort of fired into the arm over the past 3 or 4 years? I'm seeing so many cases of turbo cancers after that. Apart from that, if there is something to do with that, we do have if you contact Ben or me, we have a jab detox protocol. Oh, I've said the word, probably won't get us pulled. And you know, the whole PKD thing can work, but if it's that urgent and there's been given that sort of prognosis, which, you know, I think the worst thing about prognosis like that is that it makes you manifest the outcome. And so many people like Andrew here, who's been given a horrendous prognosis, still around 10 years later and going to be speaking at our conference next month. It's not, you don't need to really believe the doctors on that. It's just fear mongering. But, you know, if that was my diagnosis, I would go for an 11-day dry fast. I wouldn't mess about with PKD, nothing like that. I'd go for an 11-day dry fast and maybe contact one of us who knows about how to do that and the problems to watch out for while you're on that. Now, Andrew's popped up. Look up dichloroacetate for lung cancer. Cool. Thank you, Andrew. But please don't get the fear mongering in, because once the fear's gone and the stress is gone, you've got time to work it out. But perhaps a dry fast, perhaps a long dry fast, and then into PKD would perhaps my absolute sympathies. If there's something to do with whatever might have been put into the arm, contact might have a detox protocol for that. There we go.
Yeah, cheers for that, Phil. Appreciate that. Yeah, this one's quite close to home, but does anyone else have any sort of interesting anecdotes of this or experiences, or any, I don't know, real life success stories with this kind of thing? Okay.
Cancer in general, or?
We could just say cancer in general, yeah, if that opens up the board a bit. Yeah.
So, I mean, we look at cell mutations, but cancer is caused by damage to the mitochondria, which causes mitochondrial dysfunction. The cells lose their ability for oxidative phosphorylation, and this is how the cells create energy, forcing them into a process of fermentation. So sugar is fermented into lactic acid, for example. So one of the best things we can do is fasting or a ketogenic type lifestyle, starve the cancer of the glucose. Glutamine is another factor. This one that is a bit tricky to avoid when it comes to living our lifestyle, as I say, in everything we eat. But that's got to be the biggest trigger to pull, isn't it? It's these cells are metabolically inflexible. They can't be fueled by ketones. So fasting or ketogenic state has got to be, you know, involved in some protocol. I've worked with two patients who have both been treated with chemo and failed. One went for round 2 and adopted a ketogenic lifestyle. The other one was a 7-year-old boy who was the nephew of somebody connected to a Premiership football team. I worked with their family for a little while, and the uncle who I knew, who is connected to this professional football team, Premiership football team, who remains anonymous, he managed to talk his sister, so the boy's mother, into going down the ketogenic route. In fact, it was more carnivore. Refused cancer treatment and is now cancer-free. So make of that what you will, but it's sugar feeds cancer cells, isn't it? So that'll be my first protocol. I mean, you could argue that one of the protocols implemented previously is the introduction of sulforaphane from broccoli sprouts, which is found in chemotherapy treatment. But you're going to be consuming a whole host of plant toxins and phytoalexins along with that. So, I mean, I wouldn't deem that the best protocol, but people who do introduce it from a standard lifestyle do seem to confer a benefit. That it is. Take your shot glass. Bit of a running joke, Olivia. It's one of my favorite sayings, apparently. But yeah, I'm all for strict carnivore. And there would be an argument to reduce animal proteins, but with this young boy, it was more carnivore than keto. In fact, there was no vegetables involved at all. And I think we preferenced the fat 2-to-1 ratio, which is in grams. And yeah, cancer-free. So make of that what you will.
Doesn't sulforaphane contribute to cancer?
Well, yeah, it does. And so it's a compound used in cancer treatment. This is why broccoli, I mean, we're told broccoli is incredibly good for us because it contains sulforaphane. It's meant to be anti-carcinogenic, but sulforaphane is an isothiocyanate. It's so toxic, it doesn't exist in a healthy plant. It's created when we chew, when we bite on it. It's created during the chewing process. Myrosinase binds to glucoraphanin, and it creates this isothiocyanate, which is a plant toxin, a defense chemical. But the belief is that it's anti-carcinogenic because it contains the sulforaphane. But you wouldn't take a chemotherapy pill unless you had cancer. You know, so it's for us on a daily basis. This is why, I don't believe broccoli would confer a benefit, or broccoli sprouts for that matter. But there would be an argument to put that in, but I would question all the other plant toxins along with it, because at least in chemotherapy, they are isolating that molecule and you're not getting a whole host of other plant toxins along with it also. But yeah.
So you heard it here that chemo is better than broccoli.
Definitely. It's Andrew mentioned about the same pathway. I think he's talking about the NRF2 pathway, but it's over activation. Ketosis, if you think of the NRF2 as a U curve, keto will activate on a positive side, but these plant toxins overactivate, which is what a lot of these other plant toxins do. They overactivate the NRF2 pathway. We look at these things as being good or bad. And Stephen's mentioned this a couple of times in the past. We look at insulin as being the demon. We look at cortisol as being a demon. These things are there for a reason. They're not the demons that they're made out to be. It's the overactivation or overstimulation. Within a correct range, these things do help the body. And that's why ketosis activates the NRF2 pathway, but it doesn't overexpress it, which is what the plant toxins do. In fact, all plants contain these plant toxins which overactivate the NRF2 pathway. Which is where we see this elevation in glutathione. Glutathione is elevated, it conjugates to the toxin to excrete it from the body in order to excrete the toxin. So this is why hormesis, we believe that it's a hormetic effect. But hormesis is only true from an environmental perspective, i.e. cold water therapy or heat treatment. They do not overactivate the NRF2 pathway. And astaxanthin, compound found in salmon, is the only product that I have found that does not activate or overactivate that NRF2 pathway. So it doesn't become a pro-oxidant first, whereas all of these other things become pro-oxidant initially. NRF2, sorry, my accent, the NRF2 pathway.
Excellent. Yes, there's a lot to take in there. So hopefully person listening to this saw all the links are put on the screen. Otherwise, Andrew did put some insights as well, including Phil, Richard as well. And lots to take home there, much more than, considering I've got a book on all this stuff, I don't know much about it. My clinical experience is in cancer patients, but they didn't tell you how to sort them out, basically. They just said how to look after them when they're not well. So I'm very limited there, but I'm going to get to the next question now. From
just a really, really quick one before that happens. I've told them that I've told them all that, links, everything, but the family, time is precious. It's a heartbreaking situation, because there's something really emotional about cancer. We're told that it's terminal. We're told that it's, to be really frightened of it. And if you can't persuade them, there is always a time when somebody's time is up and there's nothing you can do. Just if you can introduce that to them, then great. But you're up against so much, the medical community, all the family and friends trying to say, you know, a quack and whatever. It's a very difficult situation. So if you get to that situation and it doesn't go the right, please don't blame yourself. Just chill out. It's very difficult. It's my heart goes out to anybody in that situation.
Sure, yeah. I'm going to get to next question from Misa, and it is, how long after a workout should I eat? I do 3 days full body, loads of complicated stuff and some fasting by looks of it, and oh mad or too mad. Personally, my very broad perspective without speaking to anyone is ideally eat on training days. Doesn't matter too much if you eat before or after. I'll just go to appetite. I'd look at your training performance in the gym and see what optimizes that. So try it fasted, try it fed. My other take would be to have the fasted days as far away in terms of no eating at all, being as far away from possible from workouts. I believe a fed state is probably a less stressful situation to be in for building muscle. You're more likely to be building muscle if you're fed than not, especially with the anabolic signaling, the muscle protein synthesis spike being significantly higher after a workout. And that's pretty much it. Honestly, it seems very anecdotal between fasting versus fed training. The main thing is over a course of the week, you get enough food to serve your goals, whether that be fat loss, muscle gain, exercise performance, sports performance, what have you. I'm keen to hear if Olivia has any take on this, because I understand, you know, you do some exercise, some runs and things. I mean, do you deliberately, you know, try to fast or train certain times of day?
I never try. Well, I do try to fast when I actually do more of an extended fast. But from a day-to-day basis, I mean, I train 6 out of 7 days a week, and I never really think about when I'm going to eat. I just eat based on when I'm hungry, which tends to be later on in the day, like 4 o'clock or something like that. And then I'll probably finish eating around 7 or 8. So unless I'm actually doing a fast, that's just how my body seems to get hungry, and I generally eat in line with when I'm hungry, really. So I would never really think about, oh, what time is it? Should I eat because I worked out, you know, a full body or half a body today, or upper or lower, or cardio or anything like that. I'll just go with when I'm hungry. So, but I always work out fasted.
Nice, almost like you just follow your hunger signals and do what your body tells you to do.
Yeah,
that sounds wise. Does anyone else have a take on this that's contrasting to what our opinion is? No, that's a good sign. Okay, I'll get to the next question. This was quite an interesting one. It's about bile acid malabsorption. So does anyone in here have an answer for bile acid malabsorption due to small intestines being shorter and damaged, and how to manage it on carnivore?
Yep.
I know Phil has takes on that, and I know Stephen does. So, Stephen, if you want to chime in.
It was smaller meals with more frequency. That's it.
Easy.
I mean, and beef is obviously a very good nutrient.
Is the small intestine being shorter and damaged from surgery? Is that what's going on?
I'd like to know. If they put in the chat, we might be able to provide some more insights. I'd imagine so, because I don't think the small intestines just happen to get smaller without an intervention. Yes, surgery, he said.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, it is still our diet, so there isn't any other kind of diet that would be better for you, whether you've had some of your bowel cut out or not. So, really, just what Stephen said. If you've got a bile issue, then more small meals instead of one great big one in the middle of the day, and wait for the bile production to come up again, which it should do. It usually does. I mean, there are some people who take ox bile and whatever else it is, but if you're taking something that you know, is something that the body naturally produces, you're often kind of pushing yourself up over the what the body says is your present tolerance of fat. So is that a good idea? I don't think so. So just, you know, eat smaller meals. Stephen's spot on there. There you go.
taurine, definitely. Yeah. Does anyone else have any experience with this one? I've honestly found, unless someone's had some major problem, it's been resolved in a matter of weeks, personally, and that's been every case. People with bad digestion, people that have used PPIs, medication, all sorts. So it seems to be something that does fix itself quickly. With a surgery, I couldn't say how much did they cut off, what have they done with it, have they bodged it? I don't know. So we're a bit limited there, but I'd stay on the diet because I don't think you're going to be served better from doing any other alternative, in my opinion.
I think with the thing that Phil was saying about the supplements, that's absolutely right. Maybe don't supplement with bile, but if you're eating beef, for instance, the reason I put the word taurine in there is taurine is an amino acid that communicates with your liver to produce more bile naturally. So you're not actually supplementing, you're using a signal to produce more bile. So you're saying to your body, can you chuck some more bile out? So that wouldn't be exceeding your natural limitations of your bile production. What you would be doing is possibly eating the food that you haven't been eating that's been signaling to produce the bile, if you see what I mean. So I think that's why beef is very interesting. It's not, well, no food is passive in the stomach, but it's very active in the stomach. It breaks up and it does so much with the signaling. It increases the stomach acidity, which helps with digestion. So that would help what's next. So it comes out of the stomach, goes into the small intestine. It's digested better. It's broken down more. Also, with stomach emptying, taurine does have an effect on how the stomach empties, the regularity of it. So, and I mean, this is all proven with interventional experiments. It's not guesswork. It's like people have been studied with taurine added and then taken away and looked at the difference. So I think that would be, well, the easiest thing is to eat beef because that's got plenty of taurine in it. Most animal products have a bit of taurine, but beef has a lot. And then you might find that your own production will help. And mechanical digestion as well. I know it's like listening to your parents, but if you chew your food better, that's going to help. Anything that can help before it hits the small intestine is going to be, you know, the best thing to do. So smaller meals, more frequency, more chewing, eat slower, and maybe up the beef if you can.
Yeah, and if you like fish as well, it's good.
Is there a lot more taurine in heart, Stephen?
Heart, fish, beef. Like Stephen said, most meat does have a lot in it. There's not an awful lot in milk and dairy products, but there's a lot in organ meats, fish. Fish seems to have the highest amount. So I believe in fish, obviously, because they're constantly active, they don't stop like mammals do. They actually have more taurine in them because it means that they can, what's the word, antioxidize themselves better from all the activity they do. There's some science around it, and it does make sense logically, but I'd have to look back and find out where I read that from. But fish does apparently have the most amount in it per unit of or gram. So yeah, there's one other supplement I would actually suggest, which is different to what any of you probably heard before. It's called TUDCA. So it's something like tauroedoxy eucyclic acid, something like that. Very expensive, but it's better than bile acid, better than digestive enzymes. Supports liver health, but it's more to help mediate or reduce more problems sort of thing. It's not something you just use forever. So I'd probably be looking that route myself now at the moment, because I do remember I used to take that at one point, getting through viral infections and things. I was using that for a few months straight, and it really did seem to clear that up for me. So it does have a very multifaceted approach on immune health and gut function. Is everyone right if I get to the next question? Yeah. Okay. So the next question is on fermented veggies. That's an interesting one. Do any of you eat fermented veggies for gut microbiome? Should you have a show of hands sometimes? No, it's just me. I wouldn't say they're absolutely helpful. I'd say they could be helpful. I personally wouldn't use them or add them to the diet if someone is in a immunocompromised position, because it can actually cause a worse flare-up, because the potency of these probiotics in these fermented foods is very high. Now, if you put too high of a certain colony formation in your gut that's not perhaps used to, that could actually backfire and cause you some gastric distress, in which case you won't be thanking me for recommending it. I think if someone's in a good position, they're relatively healthy, they can chuck them in pickles, sauerkraut, some fermented cabbage, kefir, maybe if you tolerate dairy. I seem to have an issue with kimchi and kombucha. I imagine it's the spice and the alcohol sort of content in it which impacts me. I don't think they're absolutely necessary, but they could be helpful. I think it's more, okay, you got your carnivore diet sorted out, you're going steady, well, that might add some potential benefit, but I don't think it's absolutely essential you add it in. My main concern would be getting rid of exposures in your environment. Any drugs you're taking which you perhaps don't need to take anymore, stop taking them. Anything which causes intestinal permeability. So you're looking at pretty much a diet of animal foods only, predominantly ruminant meat, beef or lamb, what have you. Bit of fish as well. DHA is great for the gut lining and restoring endothelial function. Yeah. Does anyone else have any insights on like leaky gut, obviously outside of carnivore diet?
Trying to heal from autoimmunity years ago, and one of my heroes was Natasha Campbell McBride, who's been on my podcast recently, and an amazing interview. She's just lovely. But she used to be a real sort of proponent of fermented veg, even just to start with, when people couldn't take it, like a little teaspoon of the water around it or whatever. But I don't know about that one. I've tried it. I've experimented with all of it, and I didn't notice much difference. Some people do, so I can't argue with that. But my view is that nobody really understands the microbiome, and when completely cool, everything that we have that we need is in seed form in the body, isn't it? It's kind of dormant, and it will proliferate when you need it. It's like somebody asked today on one of our groups or something, I can't remember, why is it that when I reintroduce foods that I kind of could take before, but then I'm carnivore and I can't take them anymore and they hurt me? I think that the defenses are down. It's not that it's essential microbiome, but something comes up to protect us against broccoli or whatever. And if we don't eat it for a while, then it's going to cause a reaction, particularly to glutens and stuff like that. But everything is in seed form in there. If we go to the diet that has no toxins and all the nutrients we need, which is fatty ruminant animal meat, then everything comes into balance in its own time. There are several things that one can do, that people have had success with that might speed up the process. But for some people, then it also stops the progress, I've seen in autoimmune clients and whatever. So nature's slow, but it doesn't make mistakes. That's an expression I heard a while ago. So just the diet that nourishes us but doesn't have any toxins, then those, whatever we need from in our microbiome, will sort itself out, because otherwise we're second guessing it. Does that make sense? It was a bit of a waffle.
Yeah, I'm kind of similar on that. I think that your microbiome adjusts to what you put in. So if you're going to feed it fermented veggies, then your microbiome, the creepy crawlies in your tummy will be ones that are there to help you to digest veggies. Whereas if you just eat meat, you'll have the appropriate, flora in there to do that job. So yeah, I don't really see the point.
Yeah, I think, like the guy said, the body will correct itself. It just, sometimes these things will either help you or harm you. So a lot of the time you're pulling from anecdotes. I remember when I was working in the vegan health food shop, it was all about fermented foods. A lot of the time people were just using it forever, and they were using probiotics more so as part of the diet rather than as a supplement to the diet. They found when they went off them and didn't notice any apparent benefit. The placebo effect is also very powerful for affecting your gut brain axis, believe it or not. I notice a lot of people with gut distress, particularly IBS syndrome, another word of saying, I don't know what's wrong with this person's gut or problem, but this is probably what it could be. Then they throw drugs at you, supplements, and you're throwing, I won't say a word, the expression, but you're just guessing at this point. No one really knows. But if you are going to add in any intervention, whether it be dietary, supplemental, drugs, take something out, change your lifestyle exposure, do them one at a time so you know what impacts you the most. Otherwise, you're spitballing, you're probably doing yourself more harm than good. especially if those interventions are perhaps potentially contraindicated. Are you guys good for another 10 minutes, I'm guessing? Because I'm quite comfortable going through the rest of the style questions, but if you do, of course, have to go, just let me know.
Good. Andrew says there are some fantastic fermented fish dishes you can get in Scandinavian countries, but they stink. They're sort of burying sharks for 6 months or whatever, but there's some tin thing. I can't remember the name of it, but look up the videos on YouTube of people trying to eat it and just throwing up before they can even get it in their mouth.
It's amazing how many countries do this, though. I was quite shocked. They cure, smoke, and season a lot of foods in very, very peculiar ways. I've seen pickled fish before, raw as well.
Yeah, the Japanese
very
have a rotten fish dish as well. That's meant to be a delicacy.
That's right. Yeah, nice one. Rick's just letting us know. I seem to have been blocked from all the vegan YouTube chats.
Shame.
Shame. You're doing good work then, basically.
Do
you guys ever look at?
I wish I was, then I wouldn't waste as much time. That's fine.
I don't tend to entertain it myself. I think a lot of the time people get so ill from a diet that isn't perhaps great for them that they just eventually fall back to what we probably do, or at least be animal based, I'd imagine, or I hope. The best we can do is really just put the information out there. Olivia can help host all these events and things and get the good word out. This, and obviously Phil, and obviously all the panel members that go into the War on Health talk in March, I think that's coming up. It's all serving a greater purpose. So you don't know who these people pull along. 1, 200, 300, 400, 500 people turn up to these events. They tell a friend, okay, that multiplies, it snowballs on. So yeah, there's little I can do as a small YouTube channel trying to get people on board. I focus on all the other stuff. But anyway, we're going to get to the next question from Hades 25. Hello, I'm 19 and I've been carnivore for 1 week now with about 60% fat, 40% protein. And I can no longer fall asleep in the evening. I often stay awake until 3 a.m. Do you know how to fix this issue? My initial guess would be you're eating too low fat in relation to protein, or just too low food altogether. My other thought would be, why are you waking up? So I probably need more context. Stephen seems to be pretty good at this kind of question, or perhaps Richard as well. I mean, I've seen them both answer this one very, very nicely before. So if you guys want to chime in.
Well, I'd like to hear from Richard because I've spoken too much already.
Olivia, do you have any thoughts?
I mean, I know when I first went carnivore, I definitely needed less sleep than I did prior. So I think that's probably got something to do with it. And I don't know why physiologically that is the case, but a lot of people I see going on to carnivore just feel like they can get the restful level of sleep in less time. I guess your body's working more efficiently overall. So I don't know if that has something to do with it or not, but it could be playing a part.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think there's a lot of issues going on there as well. I think the body's going through some transition phases. 1 week in isn't an awful long time. It can take 6 months to 12 months to fully adapt, but the thermic effect of food might be playing another impact. That's been known to keep people awake. The thermic effect of food is around 25 to 35% of energy to process. So that's been known to keep people awake. Not eating close enough to bedtime. As we're gravitating into a more animal-based lifestyle, we need to think down the lines of the lion or the cheetah. We would hunt and catch our prey, we'd eat our prey, and then we'd sleep, which we don't do. We're told to eat little and often, and we're told not to consume too much before bed. I eat around an hour or two before bed. It could be hypoglycemia as coming off carbs, so more protein again before bed. Protein can elicit that insulin response. Leucine is glucogenic. That will, in fact, it's a ketogenic amino acid, but it will elicit that mTOR response and give it an insulin response. That will be enough to maybe curb that before bed. But eating just before bed is important for me. If I don't eat before bed, then I don't sleep. The other thing, it could be an electrolyte imbalance. When adopting the lifestyle, the kidneys release sodium from 4 points in the nephrons in the kidneys, and it can lead to all sorts of issues. So you need to replace sodium. If you're not salting your meals, get some salt in, but you also need a good quality potassium supplement as well, because excess sodium will deplete potassium. So there's a number of things to go at there. Food is always the first one I'd look at. Eat closer to bedtime, and then maybe circle back and look into the electrolytes. But I think I've covered everything there. Steve, have you got anything to add?
Can I jump in on that one? Because there seems to be something when you go carnivore that shows up more sensitively our lack of circadian compliance. And Andrew's nailed it here. Stay away from artificial light 3 hours before bed. But also, very important, if you go out in the morning, get the natural light in your eyes that tells your body that it's that time of day to start producing melatonin, to release at night, as long as you're not on your phone or in front of screens and artificial light. That's why I'm never particularly visible at this time of night, because I've just got red lights up. But it's so important to me to keep that circadian rhythm. If you don't get that cortisol melatonin cycle sorted properly, then you're not going to sleep. And carnivore seems to make you more sensitive to that, I've noticed. You need less sleep. So perhaps, I haven't worked out exactly the connection, but it seems to make people not sleep so well at the start. You don't need so much sleep, so maybe you're more sensitive to that at bedtime, because you're not crashing out on a carb crash, if you like, at bedtime. But seriously, out in the morning, that's the most important thing. People come to me and say, I'm wearing my blue blockers at night and I'm still not sleeping. Well, did you go out in the morning? Did you get the sun or the morning light in your eyes to tell your body that's what time of day it is? Oh, no, I wake up and I get on my phone and I do. No, that tells your body that it's midday. And every time you get on that phone with no filter on or no sort of iris tech on your computer or whatever, it tells your body that it's midday repeatedly. So you're going through that cycle. How many days do you want to go through in one day? It's like even that is shortening your telomeres. It's telling you you're living about 30 or 40 days in a day. Get the circadian thing sorted out. Really have to stress that. It's hugely important. If nobody's sleeping properly, they're not healing properly. That's the time you heal. The best diet in the world, it's not going to work if you're not sleeping properly at night. So everything those guys said about the diet, plus get all the circadian stuff sorted out, and it should be fine. If you still sleep like a couple of hours less than you did beforehand, it's no problem. Sorry to waffle. Quick one. Think of sleep in cycles. We have a certain cycle of sleep of like between about 1 hour 20 and 1 hour 40. Mine's about 1 hour 20. If I have a nap in the day and I don't have an alarm or get disturbed, it's 1 hour 20 bang on. I can see it every time. And I might go to bed and sleep 2 or 3 of those cycles. Instead of thinking I need to sleep 8 hours, think that you need, say, 5 cycles of 1.5 hours within that 24 hours. And that's how we slept ancestrally, often biphasic sleep. Waking up at midnight, having gone to bed with the sunset, waking up, telling stories around the fire, chilling out, making love, whatever anybody did, and then go to sleep again. It's in cycles. Don't panic if you do wake up, because that'll just keep you awake. Have a look at my YouTube channel. I've got a thing on sleep with a load of suggestions and things around the sleep cycle thing. Sorry, I waffled about that one, but it's kind of important to me, that one. Something I've considered a lot. There we go.
I think it's the second most important hack we do. Sorry, Stephen.
Yeah, it's okay. I was just picking up on the biphasic sleep. There are literally over 500 references in ancient literature of people having their first sleep, some sort of reference in novels and in stories. So it seems like many humans actually did have biphasic sleep, which is a posh way of saying they had a bit of a sleep, then they got up, did something, and then they went back to sleep. That's all it is. And I think it's something worth researching, because if you do wake up in the middle of the night, very often, I think with carnivore, you just got more energy. You think, oh, maybe I could pop down and do a bit of work or a bit of reading or something. And the problem there is the artificial light. But I think it's definitely worth looking into.
There's one angle I think of when that was really drastic to me. So something which sounds so obvious to me. my food volume over a day is about half of what it used to be 4.5 years ago. There's half as much food in mass going through my system each day. Therefore, my digestive system is a lot less stressed. Therefore, all that blood that needs to go to my stomach and intestines and things to digest that food is a lot less. It just trickles through me, you know, go about my day. I don't feel bloated at any given point. I don't drink 9-10 liters anymore. I drink about 2. So I'm putting less through my system because my body therefore has less to process, less to detox, less to get through. So my sleep is better. I'm sure when Richard, even though Richard has a different protocol to me, he eats closer to bedtime than I do. But because he eats the right food with the right volume, concentration of nutrition, he feels good. He probably doesn't go to bed bloated and feeling stuffed up like perhaps he used to back in the day. So, you know, but there's a lot to it. A lot to it.
But this is where the calories thing is a load of bunk, because if everyone's looking at it the wrong way, 1 gram of fat is 9 calories allegedly, and 1 gram of carbohydrate is 4. So if you have 1,000 calories of carbs, it's going to weigh. Its mass is going to be over double the mass of fat with the same amount of calories. So not only are you eating less frequently, you are literally, if you go from protein and carbs to protein and fats, you are halving the amount of weight of the food that you are stuffing into your gob. And like you say, you've then got to process all that. You've got to excrete all that. And because there's more in that meal that is useless, you will be on the toilet more. And you're right. I mean, there's more blood going to the stomach. And yeah, there's a lot going on.
I think at some point we need to do some sort of specific talks on this. So a talk on circadian, talk on, I don't know, muscle building, fat loss, electrolytes, digestive health. Perhaps we could start off next time. We could do a different topic each time that's in each of our kind of interests. Maybe it'd be quite good because a lot of the time we have so limited time to do so many questions. We've already got about 7 we haven't even started on yet, so I can see some value to that. It might actually answer some people's questions. The next one's a bit of a Sinclair sort of question, so you know what's going to come up.
Yeah.
But it's NMN, resveratrol, or have any thoughts on it? Well, it's meh.
It's going down that route of polyphenols and NAD plus. It's just ridiculous. And by the way, this multi-billionaire who's doing all these supplements looks terrible. I mean, so I don't think it's doing him any favors. And you've done a brilliant video about him, actually, Jonathan. So let's get people to look at that.
Yeah, the video is something like Brian Johnson's Carnivore Nutritionist debunks, I know, Brian Johnson's diet and whatever. I don't know. But he's swallowing like 100 tablets per day. Yeah. And I can say as someone, I used to run a health food shop, it was a load of crap. I didn't feel better for it. There was not 10 more tablets I could have done to make 1% difference, to be honest. I think they could be useful in deficiencies when we absolutely know it's a deficiency, but outside of that, the average person on a carnivore diet doesn't need this extra stuff. I don't think it makes a significant difference, in my opinion. But anyone's welcome to disagree with me, and I'll accept that disagreement.
Yeah, the thought process behind it is the NNM, nicotinamide mononucleotide, is a precursor for NAD, nicotinamide. What was it? Nicotinamide.
Dinucleotide.
Nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide, which is it's a coenzyme for redox reactions and part of the process of creating sirtuins. But resveratrol is a polyphenol, as Steve says, and it's in a group of families coupled with things like flavonoids, which are digestive inhibitors. They block the absorption of vitamin C, which causes a reduction in net protein utilization. It causes infertility in women, poor sperm count in men. Because they're known endocrine disruptors, they block things like thyroid peroxidase, which we need to make thyroid hormone, by overactivating the 17B estradiol receptor, increasing estrogen, which leads to hypothyroidism in women, gynecomastia in men, and they've been known to increase inflammatory markers. I think it was interleukin 1, interleukin 6, and tumor necrosis alpha. So these things that we're told are good for us, just because they come from a plant, doesn't mean that they're good for us. Flavonoids are detrimental to the human body. They are endocrine disruptors. The theory behind NMN does carry a little bit of weight, but when you break it down and look at the resveratrol sort of aspect and polyphenol side of things, then it quickly sort of falls away. I was involved in a company that was going to produce this a few years ago, but I didn't move forward based on the back end. That company's now doing very well, but I couldn't get involved with something that I didn't believe in. So I'm stuck here doing my thing.
Is it probably basically better to just drink a wheelbarrow full of wine a day for your resveratrol, than have all the fillers in the? At least it'll be slightly more fun. Yeah, I don't get that resveratrol thing.
That's a question for Jack Cruz, Phil.
I've watched like 20 hours of him for the last week or two.
That's true. It depends if you get him before or after the wheelbarrow full of wine. Sorry, Jack.
I'll very briefly say, if you're looking at buying anything that is supplemental and you're not doing other biohacks that are free that you can do every single day and start literally right now, forget about it. Don't even bother, because you'll be always taking those things in the future to fix whatever problem you have. I think Andrew made a good point earlier about changing your environment. What you do day to day, your habits, is going to be the biggest impactor of your health outcomes, physique, performance, cognition, all that sort of stuff. Olivia, do you have any take at all on like different supplements, and have you tried to think before that was actually useful at all?
No, I don't really do supplements. Vitamin D is probably the most that I would do. But yeah, I was just going to say something on sleep actually, which kind of occurred to me as you guys were all talking, because for me, even though I've made inroads into my diet and exercise and changed so many different parts of my life, sleep for me is actually, I think, harder to kind of keep on track. I really struggle with getting myself to bed, and because I know as a carnivore I need less sleep, it actually changes my own internal psychology as to whether or not I need to go to bed or not. So it can have that kind of flip effect, I think, on some people once you know that you've sorted everything else out. So you almost get lulled into this probably very false sense of security that you don't need as much sleep, which I think can have a negative effect, a cyclical effect towards the wrong habits.
I think as well, like you have that margin where like the average person standard Western diet can kind of go a bit here, there with sleep, food. I think that margin grows a bit when we're carnivore because detoxification pathways are greater, sleep quality is better, everything about our body is more optimized. So, like you just said, Olivia, I think sometimes we can like really, sleep 4 hours for a few days. It's not going to make a massive difference, but eventually it will pay back. But I think that margin just becomes a bit bigger. So it sounds pretty cool to me. Right, the next question, and hi to Bart, by the way, he's kindly joined us all the way from New Zealand. The next question is about the liver. When our liver produces glucose, will that feed cancer? So I think they're referring to the glucogenic pathway. My initial thought is don't overeat protein, but also don't undereat it. Give your body what it needs to maintain the cells, the enzymes you need to produce, any hormones, any sort of downstream enzymes and stuff that you need to make. I'd just go to appetite, honestly. That's probably what I'd do. I wouldn't go looking for an absolute protein gram amount if you're worried about gluconeogenesis. You can produce glucose from other sources as well, lactate, fatty acids as well. So you basically end up eating nothing, basically, and I don't think that's very sustainable. So our approach is, probably a bit like Phil would say about the PKD, just eat what you need to get in. That probably releases the least amount of, or the most appropriate amount of insulin, and therefore the least amount of cascading IGF-1, which would stimulate or proliferate metastatic cancer tissues. That's my take on it. Does anyone else have any kind of thoughts or experience with glucose and feeding cancer?
Well, this is an area of research because what they're looking at, I mean, obviously, we're talking about the Wahlberg effect, and glucose metabolism does go high in cancer cells. When they scan you for cancer, that's what they look for, glucose metabolism. They don't look for cancer. And I mean, the latest research is the fact that cancer cells hijack the endothelial production and they try to get their own supply in. So I would say that that's quite promising. But that's a long way off. I mean, that's quite new. But when you're looking at gluconeogenesis, it's demand driven. So it's less of a worry than what Jonathan just alluded to, which is stuffing yourself with extra glucose and just making the situation worse. And yeah, there's other things cancer cells live off, like glutamine. But I think it's a really interesting question, but you can't avoid glucose or glucose neogenesis. But the best thing is to not keep eating loads and loads of glucose that your body has got to get rid of, because your cancer cells will suck it up. So just give it the hardest environment you possibly can have to actually thrive.
Yeah, a healthy person will have about 4 grams of glucose in their entire blood circulation, and your liver's going to try and maintain that level. Right? Anything above 4 should be seen as toxic, and that's when you get insulin, released to push it into cells and whatever. There you go.
Like I said, it's the IGF-1. If you put IGF-1 into animal cells, in vitro, in vivo, you can see it. All the cells grow. Yes. They get bigger overall, bigger hearts. Every disease state in their body will get greater. So it seems to be that. So we're not trying to chase down glucose. We're trying to chase down inappropriate signaling.
Yeah.
Yeah. We could go into the weeds in that, but I think we're running out of time a little bit. But we're already quarter an hour over. But,
yeah, if anyone is in the panel that wants to leave right now, feel free. I'm quite happy just answering this question, because I've seen some that come up that for me, they seem quite important for me to sort of answer, because they seem really, I don't know how to put it. Yeah, I want to answer them.
Can I just jump in on a quick one of what Bart said there? And hello, Bart. Hi. Jack's a friend of mine, but I wouldn't listen to him without serious filtering. Half of what he says is simply wrong. Sorry, Jack. I think I've got a sort of halfway view of that I think Jack is probably right. Absolutely. That light is at the root of everything, because light, and the seasons and the sun controls everything. But when somebody's autoimmune and in terrible pain, I'm afraid that changing your light bulbs out for red ones isn't going to have much effect at that stage. Get fasting, get on a proper PKD diet, and that will have serious results. And by all means, sort out the light bulbs and everything like that afterwards. But I completely, I'm with you there, Bart. I'm with you.
I think people I'm not saying Bart does this, but I think people misinterpret what Jack Krueger is saying. He's saying light is what does stuff to our cells, and light, the amount of light, the frequency wavelength of light, is affected by the food we eat. So mechanistically, we draw it down to its finest point. Yeah, light is probably key, but you affect the light production within your cells, the transmission, the communication between different neurons and different pathways, because of the food we eat. So for me, in my hierarchy, I've said this a few times, it's food, light, exercise, social stuff, then a load of other stuff, and cold immersion for me is like number 8. Just because I have to work so hard to get myself even colder, because I'm very well adapted. So that's my hierarchy personally. I was going to ask Olivia, actually, what is the most significant to you? So obviously you've made different lifestyle, diet changes, perhaps exercise as well. What have you found to be, this is like worth 50%, this is worth 20%, for example?
Well, it's funny you just said about cold plunging. I've actually found that to be one of the best hacks recently. I've really found it's made a difference to how I feel mentally throughout the day, and it took me a while to get into it. My hubby Greg does it religiously every morning, and he's always trying to get the temperature down to as low as possible. And so I've avoided it because it was too cold for me. But then I started last summer when it was hot, and then I started to kind of acclimatize myself down as the water got colder towards the winter. And that's when I really started to see a benefit to, I would say, the way that I felt mentally and physically for the rest of the day, as long as I did a couple of minutes in a really cold plunge. And I did actually get down to 0 recently when it got really cold. And I would never have thought I could do it. And the benefit and the kind of the high that you then have for the rest of the day was just unbelievable to me. So for me, I feel like it's one of the easiest things to do, like almost no cost hardly, apart from buying something that you can jump into, which is cold, got cold water in it, compared to all of the other changes, which sometimes take longer and you have to wait, and sometimes it works and it doesn't work. For me, this was just a quick and easy thing to do, and there was just no no real downside to it. It was only upside.
I understand that. Yeah, like I said, these are all for the not the panel, the people listening to this. These are all individual to us. So what we feel is most impactful. We're all different haplotypes. For example, I'm probably a bit more like Richard than I'm like Olivia, for example. Different skin tone, different origins. So we'll find different things to impact us more than other things. Also, I'm always in the freezing cold anyway. So for me to get significantly more impact from cold thermogenesis, I'd have to jump into ice baths anyway. I sleep my window open, thin bed sheets, all that sort of thing. So I'm adapted in that sense. But yeah, we could probably talk about that another time. I'm going to get to the next question now, which is from Kyle. So would you add taurine before meals to help? Does it matter when and how much taurine should be consumed for better digestion? Richard or Phil, do you have a take on this one at all? I've got an answer, but I want to hear what you say.
Yeah, I mean, if you're supplementing, possibly before, but I mean, if you eat food in complex, beef is going to come with a ton of taurine anyway. But if you are supplementing, typically before is probably a little bit better. But I'm just conscious of Olivia's time. We've already hijacked it for 20 minutes longer. So if you've got anything you want to jump in on, Olivia, mind, feel free, and we can fight through it all after. But is there anything you wanted to add to any of the questions that are on the right hand side?
No, nothing to the questions. So you're going to put the link to our conference. So if anybody wants to follow up on that, then we'd like to see you in May in London. So, and hopefully see all you guys there as well. Yeah,
and we'll pop that link back in there again as well now.
Yeah, hopefully. So what I'll do is, if you're watching this after the fact, I'll add it to the description of my channel. I'm sure the other guys will as well. And I'll also put in the War and Health Conference link as well. So you've got two things to go to within the next 4 or 5 months or whatever. So that's quite exciting for UK, I don't know, non-ultra processed food gang, if that makes sense. That works.
Yeah, thanks for coming on there, guys.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. Excellent. I appreciate the time.
No worries. We'll catch up again tomorrow if you're free, Olivia. I know we were going to stay on after this, but I'm just conscious it's getting a little bit late for you. But there we are. We'll touch base later.
Excellent.
No worries.
Okay.
But thanks again anyway. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers.
Thank you, Olivia.
Thank
you.
That was very pleasant. Yeah, so about taurine, I tend to just put it in water and I just have a bit throughout the day. It seems to do fine within water. It doesn't, go rancid or anything within the day. The way I'd probably split it up depends on the dose. If you're using 1 gram, you could use that 3 or 4 times per day. So 1 gram, 1 gram, 1 gram. If you're using 6 grams, maybe 2 to 3 times per day. If you're using more than that, I mean, it depends what you're using it for as well. For exercise performance, I'd use it about an hour and a half before, a dose of about 2 to 3 grams. Don't use it if you're using blood pressure medication unless you're managing it carefully, because it can impact blood pressure levels. If you're affected by sleep issues, have it before sleep, maybe 2 to 3 hours before. So generally, I'd say maybe like an hour to maybe 3 hours before either training or sleep, and it'll have a nice effect, in my opinion. The next question, Phil might be a good one to answer this one, as well as me, actually, because I can relate to this one very closely. This question from Taran is, husband has fibromyalgia, consultant have him on pregabalin, which is like a nerve pain blocker. Still in pain, brain fog, fatigue. Any advice would be great. Been off work for 18 months, previously misdiagnosed with psoriatic arthritis. Do you have any take on that?
I just think that there's only one ailment that the human body gets, and that's mitochondrial dysfunction. And the things that are called fibromyalgia, are they all the same? Probably not. What they call psoriatic arthritis, they basically just slap that term on anything, any sort of arthritis that's doesn't have a rheumatoid factor showing in the blood. It's all just stuff, really, these diagnoses. So whatever that drug is, and to be honest, that's one I haven't actually come across before. So, but I'm sure that whatever he's got is not due to a deficiency in pregabalin or whatever. you know, just eat an ancestral diet. And with there's something about fibromyalgia, what they talk about as fibromyalgia, that that definitely has an emotional component. And I've seen a lot of people really get a lot better on their fibromyalgia when they get into the emotional side. They get into EFT, emotional freedom technique, you know, the tapping and stuff like that. Look at traumas, past traumas, false beliefs, fears, that kind of thing. That can really help. But getting on your ancestral diet and getting all these useless meds in the bin is a no-brainer. It's as simple as that, really.
The biggest thing for me, I did use pregabalin. I used it for a long time. I used 300 milligrams per day, I believe.
What is it? What is it, man?
It's like a nerve blocker, but it makes you a bit drowsy. I'd say it works a bit like a nerve blocker and a bit like an antidepressant.
Okay.
I'd say similar along the lines of amitriptyline, but a bit more powerful and less towards sleep. That's been my experience. I would say try and titrate the dose down if you're able to with your doctor. Absolutely look at the mitochondrial health side of it. Carnivore diet. As soon as the sun comes up in the morning, literally it's UK time. It's, I want to say 6:30, 7 o'clock at the moment. The sun comes up. Okay, immediately a bit of sun comes up through the window. Okay, go outside immediately. First thing you do. Grounding immediately. Set a routine. A lot of these people struggle to stick to routines. I've been on all the fibromyalgia groups on Facebook, all the chronic fatigue groups. The main thing is they don't change the diet and they don't change the routine and they expect themselves to be healed. You have to work harder when you have these things. I speak from experience. I have had chronic fatigue syndrome for most of my life. It is a pain in the backside to put into remission. You do have to look at reducing deuterium levels, so many different factors. It does take a long time. I'd say it took me about 3 years to get rid of about half of my brain fog that I used to have. Salt and food to taste, drinking water to thirst. You can't get too wrong. The drugs will have a negative impact on your gut microbiome, which will affect the absorption of nutrients, which will probably give you vitamin and mineral deficiencies without even realizing it. And they're going to be things that make a big difference down the line as you go further and further along your way. The main thing is having a routine and having something you can just achieve every single day. Then add things to that routine. So the first one would be carnivore ketogenic diet, animal foods that you do enjoy. Second thing would be probably the light exposure. So blue blocking glasses, not a joke, not a gimmick. I use it very successfully. Red light panels, I think mine's run out of battery, but it was here. That thing lights up my entire room and it goes bright red, and it does help. Does make your body more receptive to sunlight, in particular the vitamin D, absorption through the cholesterol through the skin, which helps your immune system, which can reduce flare-ups. And vitamin D actually reduces pain levels in the body as well, funnily enough. That's a load of stuff to look at and think about. I know Richard's had similar experience to me, to like fatigue and stuff. So if I've missed anything, Richard, do add in, because it's a very important topic, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I think you've nailed most of them. But I mean, diet and lifestyle, massive impact. Again, it's mitochondrial dysfunction. When we gravitate into ketogenic or carnivore lifestyles, the production of BHB, beta hydroxybutyrate, fuels the cells in a way that the glucose can't. But it's coffee is another massive contributing factor to people with fibro, and it's something that it almost comes hand in hand with our lifestyle, isn't it? When someone gravitates into a ketogenic lifestyle, we start with the fat coffees and all this, which is fantastic. If you're gravitating in, but coffee, the acrylamide is it's a known neurotoxin and causes inflammation throughout the body. So that's a big one to give away, but it's I think you've nailed everything else. Healing the gut, avoiding the grains, the casein. Again, lion diet, I'd preference over anything else, so it'd be beef or lamb. And all of the other factors you guys have just mentioned, but it's when beginning, it is going to take quite some time to upregulate those enzymes and pathways in order to produce the BHB to fuel the cells efficiently. So stick with it, but pull the lever on the coffee, because that's going to confer a benefit.
Yeah, nice. So many things you can look at there. Just implement the diet stuff, the light stuff, do the exercise you can do, get your mitochondria working. Add in all the other stuff down the line. Just use the least abrasive thing possible, because these people are often in a low mental state. I've met many of them. I've not met a person with fibro that has not had depression or anxiety. So instead, carefully do what you can achieve. That's the main thing for me.
It comes back to neurotransmitters again, isn't it? Which is something we can go into more detail next time. Serotonin, melatonin, dopamine, epinephrine, norepinephrine, all of these things we need from tyrosine and tryptophan, and essential cofactors, and foods in modern diet block the body's ability to create those cofactors. We could probably do an entire episode on that, but yeah, it is. Live this way and all of the things will sort of fall into place eventually.
Jack Kruse has a talk on it, or a blog post. I think it's free to access. It's something like adrenal reset, something like that. Look at that. Look at the leptin reset protocol. They're two things I'd absolutely look at if you want something written down to just follow. The next question is on low folate due to having celiac. Any tips on increasing it, please? Can't eat eggs. I'm on beef and lamb. I can't tolerate pork. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a shame about the eggs, because eggs are fantastic.
Like eggs.
The eggs are one of the best sources. Liver is even higher. Beef liver is incredibly high in folate. Any other organ meats for that matter. If you can't tolerate beef liver, you can ask your local butcher to mix it in with some minced beef. So that's what my butcher does for me. I'm not a lover of liver. Try saying that 3 times fast. But he mixes the organ meats into my mince meat for me, so you can barely taste it. But liver's a fantastic source. If you're suffering with celiac, it isn't just celiac. It's not just a gluten sensitivity. We're all on that spectrum of even people without celiac suffer with non-celiac gluten sensitivity. Lectins cause that intestinal permeability in everyone. So a lectin-free diet, wheat germ agglutinin, as well as gluten, and even phytohemagglutinin, which are found in plants such as tomatoes, bell peppers, what are they? Onions, all sorts. So I mean, again, carnivore seems to be trumps. And if you are eating burgers, make sure they are rusk-free, because the rusk contains lectins. Either make them yourself or ask your butcher to make rusk-free burgers. And casein. Obviously, casein is going to cause intestinal permeability, so try to stay away from milk, even A2 raw milk, cheese, any creams, what else is there? Greek yogurt, that sort of thing. And yeah, eat the beef and lamb, get on the organ meats, top up on some liver. If you don't like it, stick it in with your mince.
Other thing as well is perhaps a misdiagnostic side of things. So some people will apparently test low for folate. Like me, I'm always low normal. I've had it raised and lowered. It's never made a difference in how I feel, to be honest. If you're having, the things that Richard mentioned, you're having your liver and stuff in addition to your normal diet, and it's conferring no benefit, there's probably something else wrong with you. You don't be afraid to just accept sometimes the guys, with the white coats don't always have it absolutely correct, apparently. So maybe the diagnosis might be something else that's a problem. There's a lot to unpack, but that's pretty much why I take it. Phil, do you ever take it to apart from liver and stuff?
No, I was just going to say liver, but there is a mosquito buzzing around my ear. It's February in England. Where has that come from?
It's been shipped in.
Buzzing around. Bizarre. But no, definitely liver, I'd say. That's the one. But then again, don't eat too much. How big is an animal? How big is the liver? Just, a pound a week max if you're healing up, and then you probably won't need it. I don't know about all these levels. I just say to people when they say something like that, how are you feeling? The levels do all kinds of weird things. Sophia said to me a while ago, Sophia Clements from Paleo Medicina, yeah, folate, levels in blood's an absolutely useless test. So I don't know. I didn't really delve into that with her, but the body can show completely different things day to day. I don't know. Just, eat a little bit of liver if you want, see if you feel better. If you feel great right now, ignore the test.
Yeah. Ignore the test, symptoms over diagnostic sometimes. Unless it flags up with cancer or something, then yeah, probably do something about it. There we go. So,
gents, I'm going to have to shoot, so I'm going to love you and leave you.
Yeah.
But
I see you, Richard.
Yeah, you too. I got to pick my little girl up. I was meant to pick it up about 30 minutes ago, but pleasure as always. Great chatting. Thank you all for listening. And gents,
Cheers, have a good one.
see you all soon.
See
Take
you
care
later.
all.
Cheers. See you in a bit. So next question's on, I feel on Carnivore I can get away with just 6 hours sleep while on standard American diet, which is 8 hours. Am I getting enough sleep? We spoke about this explicitly earlier. Go back on the chat and your answers there. We spoke about it for absolutely ages with Olivia on the screen. So I just wanted to bring attention to the War on Health weekend that Phil and Ben are hosting quite soon. I think it's, was it just about a month and a half away, roughly, something like that?
It's it's over the Easter weekend, which I think is the 30th, 31st of March. But yeah, it was so good last time, and so we're going to do it again, but a 2-day one this time. And yeah, great speakers, wonderful. We've got, who have we got this time? Well, there's Ben and me. There's well, we got Richard, and we got Stephen. And we've got Zofia Clements via Zoom. And we've got Sarah Pugh back again. And we've got Andrew Scarborough as well, who's been in the chat tonight. He's got just the most wonderful, wonderful story. And I think that's it. I don't think I've forgotten anybody. But
I'm trying to get the website up, but struggling.
Yeah, come along. Just thebigfatchallenge.com. And you can see the events buttons at the top there. Yeah, sign up, come and see us, come and spend Easter with us. It's going to be fun. Be cool.
It's like a giant Q&A with seminars. It's going to be excellent.
Yeah,
absolutely excellent.
Absolutely.
You have to be there. It's not like recorded. You can just find it later on a stream somewhere. You have to be there to see it and enjoy it. I believe it'll be uncensored as well. Is that right, Phil?
Oh, definitely. And yeah, I did forget one person, which is crazy because I'm thinking about the people who come on these kind of things. But we've got Ahmad Malik as well, Doc Malik, who's got the most wonderful podcast. He was there last time, and he's just so popular, and he's spoken out against all the crap that's been happening these past 4 years, and he's had his career ruined because of it, you know. But hopefully, in the fullness of time, he'll have a far better career over and above the cowardly docs who aren't speaking out. So. Yep, come meet him too, and yeah, it'll be excellent. Food, accommodation, everything. Go check out the website. Come and see us at Easter.
Nice one. So this is the last question for tonight, guys. Apologies if we haven't got to question yet. We have gone very, very, very far over time, so we're doing well basically. But I've had enough for tonight, and I'm sure Phil has as well. But what do you all recommend for the daily sodium intake? I eat over 1 kilo of meat, so I don't worry about potassium, magnesium. We're trying to optimize sodium for good performance and ratios. We've covered this question on my channel, Richard's channel, and Stephen's channel about 50 odd times. My suggestion is salt to taste, drink water first. If you're not sure, have a bit more salt, maybe. Not the worst thing. I don't think there's a better answer than that, unless Phil's got something.
Not really. If you're healthy, and that's fine. Yeah, salt to taste. But if you're new into ketosis, then maybe if you're getting palpitations, cramps, something like that, then take some salt shots in water, like a teaspoonful of salt in some warm water, swill it down. It'll get rid of that. But there is also, you know, the whole Darko Volchek thing of salt cleanse protocols and whatever. Got to get him on the podcast soon and really figure out about that, what he's going on about, because it sounds quite interesting. But it was very important to me when I had a serious electrolyte imbalance and actually got hospitalized with it in the end, even though I was salting my food to taste. But you know, taking a load of salt in water at intervals got rid of that. If you're feeling great on it already, you're well into the carnivore diet and whatever, then just salt to taste and drink water according to thirst, as Jonathan says. It's really simple. But at the beginning of it, you know, if you've got an electrolyte imbalance, take a load more salt. But it has a different effect, it seems to, in water than it does just salting your food. So, you know, in between meals, do a few salt shots if you've got palpitations or cramps or brain fog or whatever comes with electrolyte imbalances. And yeah.
Yeah, you use a good quality salt. So Andrew's got to a point here which is quite important. Pink Himalayan salt. Pink Himalayan salt can come from anywhere, pretty much. You'd think it's from the Himalayas, but a lot of the time it's not. It could be from a number of other places. They also apparently use explosives to mine it out of the rock. So it tells me probably not the most optimal thing to have in terms of long-term health outcomes. And the fact it's quite cheap as far as salt goes is quite telling as well. The salt I use is Celtic sea salt, Sol de Grande, and Redmond sea salt is also quite good. Phil, do you care much about the salt you use, or do you just have a particular taste that you like? Or
well, you know, I used to use Himalayan salt, and then I switched to Celtic sea salt. We use that all the time now. But if I could just read this quick thing out. Well, it's not that quick, but it's kind of quick. But it's worth saying while we're on the subject. This is from Jack Cruz on salt, and it does amuse me. Pink Himalayan salt has no enzymes. It's essentially a rock. What you're doing when applying pink salt is applying beach sand to your food. It's the same thing, no difference. Salt should come present with lithophilic organisms to assist in its breakdown of inorganic materials. The enzymes also assist this process alongside natural acids. It's not amphoteric, therefore it creates issues with the sodium-potassium process. An amphoteric substance is an oxide of an element that can act both as an acid or a base. Furthermore, it's not below its 9 atomic clusters. This means that it cannot either pass through or enter the body without causing tissue damage on the atomic level. High in deuterium, and also does not fit as a sodium source since it has a drastic effect on ionized blood levels. Celtic sea salt is great. A phenomenal wide variety of salts are in existence. I like the exotic sea salts from Fiji. I also love the fleur de sal from France. The way Himalayan salt is procured through its intensive mining process is atrocious, and the salt usually contains heavy metals from the grinding process and trace amounts of potassium nitrate from gunpowder explosions. It's also rich in fluoride, and this results in overall electron transport and mitochondria inefficiency. That's what Jack says about Himalayan salt. I saved that on my phone because it was like, yeah, go on, Jack, you know.
That sounds accurate. That wasn't where I sourced my information from. So it tells me, okay, more than one sort of expert guru probably thinks the same as me. So that means I probably sourced the right information there.
I think, you know, to be safe, you've got Celtic sea salt, you've got pink Himalayan. More people say that the Celtic is great, go for the Celtic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of the time they sort of put up on their websites, oh, this has been third party tested. Well, has it? Okay, well, on every single batch that you've produced, batch analysis 2019. Okay, well, that was 5 years ago. That's not very helpful. You know, with these analysis tests, you can't. I think you're pissing in the window a lot of the time. I'd go by what we absolutely know about how they're mined, how they're sourced, where they're imported from. Yeah, if it's expensive, it's probably good. If you don't see it very often, it's probably sourced nicely. It's not been mass produced in some kind of way. So that's my take on it. But yeah, we can't absolutely get our electrolyte balance absolutely correct. I think you're absolutely wasting your time if you're looking at measuring these things. My salt intake will change every day based on how much I sweat each day, whether I gym or not. I think, honestly, I can't express how much a waste of time it is. I can't even fathom it. I drink like that much water in the gym, so about 300 milliliters. Sometimes I put salt in it, sometimes I won't. I don't seem to notice a difference really. If I'm dehydrated, I don't eat much the day before. Well, yeah, my salt's going to go up that day. I highly suggest not complicating it more than you are. And I'm saying this because I know he listens to what I say, then he doesn't implement it. I've seen him do it a few times now, but I'm calling him out. Anyway, should we leave it there? All right, so War and Health, Phil Escott, Ben Hunt, coming up Easter weekend. I'll link that below the chat after the fact of this being aired, and also the Public Health Collaboration UK this year, and I think it is in May, so I'll link that one as well. Do you have anything else to say, Phil?
No, that's cool. And that was a good marathon tonight. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
To you, Jonathan, and everybody who's disappeared.
Cheers. Take care, guys.